The Vanek house stood shrouded in silence. It was a silence born of loss, a heavy blanket suffocating the air within. Amelia Vanek, a woman hollowed out by grief, moved through the rooms like a ghost herself. Her eyes, red-rimmed and distant, betrayed sleepless nights haunted by memories. Her son, Samuel, a whirlwind of nervous energy, was a constant reminder of the happiness that had been ripped away. Sam was a bright spark in the oppressive gloom, his laughter a jarring counterpoint to the quiet sorrow that clung to Amelia. He was too young to understand the permanence of death, too innocent to grasp the depth of his mother's pain. Amelia, though, understood it all too well. The accident that had taken her husband, Oscar, was a wound that refused to heal. It festered within her, a constant source of agony. The house itself seemed to absorb their sorrow. The air hung heavy, thick with unspoken grief. The ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway echoed like a death knell. Even the sunlight seemed hesitant to penetrate the gloom, as if afraid of what it might illuminate. Amelia tried to be strong for Sam, to create a semblance of normalcy in their shattered world. But the effort was exhausting, each day a monumental struggle against the crushing weight of her grief. She loved Sam fiercely, but even his bright spirit couldn't fully penetrate the darkness that had enveloped her. Isolation had become Amelia's constant companion. She withdrew from the world, shunning the well-meaning but painful condolences of friends. Their pity was a constant reminder of her loss, their attempts at comfort only deepening her wounds. Sam, too, felt the sting of their isolation. His playdates dwindled, the laughter of other children fading from their doorstep. Amelia saw the loneliness creeping into his eyes, a mirror reflecting her own. Guilt gnawed at her, a bitter companion to her grief. The house, once filled with warmth and laughter, now echoed with emptiness. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves against the window pane, sent shivers down Amelia's spine. The shadows seemed to lengthen with each passing day, twisting into menacing shapes in the periphery of her vision. Sleep offered no escape, only a descent into a nightmare world where Oscar's absence was a gaping wound. She would wake in the dead of night, heart pounding, his name a strangled cry on her lips. The silence of the house would mock her, a constant reminder of the emptiness that had become her reality. One blustery evening, as the wind howled like a banshee outside, Sam appeared at Amelia's side, clutching a brightly coloured book. Its cover was plain, the title simply Mr. Babadook scrawled in a childish font. Amelia had never seen it before, but Sam insisted it had been on his bookshelf. The book was filled with disturbing illustrations and a rhyming narrative that chilled Amelia to the bone. It told the story of a sinister creature, the Babadook, who haunted a young boy. As Amelia read the words aloud, her voice trembling, she felt a growing sense of unease. The words seemed to claw at her, echoing the darkness that had taken root in her soul. Sam, however, was enthralled. He delighted in the Babadook's monstrous appearance, his laughter a jarring counterpoint to the book's sinister tone. Amelia tried to hide her fear, to dismiss it as childish nonsense. But the book had awakened something within her, a primal fear that whispered of unseen dangers. That night, as Amelia lay awake listening to the wind rattling the windows, she couldn't shake the image of the Babadook from her mind. The book's words echoed in her ears, a sinister lullaby that fueled her growing anxiety. Sleep eluded her, replaced by a creeping dread that seeped into every corner of her being. The arrival of the book heralded a string of increasingly bizarre and unsettling events. Whispers seemed to emanate from the walls, faint and indistinct, yet filled with a chilling malice. Objects moved inexplicably, appearing in strange places, as if manipulated by unseen hands. The air grew thick with a palpable sense of dread. Sam, too, began to change. His playful exuberance was replaced by a nervous energy, his laughter punctuated by fits of terror. He complained of nightmares, of a shadowy figure that watched him from the corner of his room. Amelia tried to soothe his fears, but her own terror was mirrored in his wide, frightened eyes. The Babadook, it seemed, had crossed over from the pages of the book into their reality. It was no longer a figment of a disturbed imagination. but a tangible presence that haunted their waking hours and tormented their dreams. Amelia's carefully constructed facade of normalcy crumbled, revealing the raw fear that lay beneath. One evening, as Amelia sat reading to Sam, attempting to distract him from his growing terror, the lights flickered and died. The room was plunged into darkness, broken only by the faint glow of the moon through the window. And then from the shadows, a voice rasped, low and guttural, "Babadook! Duck! Duck!" Section 5. Consumed by darkness. The Babadook's presence became an oppressive weight, suffocating the remnants of their sanity. Amelia, her nerves frayed, oscillated between frantic attempts to protect Sam and moments of numb despair. The house, once a sanctuary, transformed into a prison of fear. Sam's behavior grew increasingly erratic. He lashed out in anger, his sweet nature twisted by the unseen entity's influence. He drew disturbing pictures, his childish scribbles depicting the Babadook in all its grotesque glory. Amelia, her heart breaking, saw her son slipping away, consumed by the same darkness that threatened to engulf her. Sleep became a distant memory, replaced by a constant state of heightened anxiety. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of the wind sent shivers down Amelia's spine. The Babadook's presence permeated their lives, a malevolent entity that fed on their fear and thrived in their despair. One particularly harrowing night, Amelia awoke to find Sam standing over her, a pair of scissors clutched in his small hand. His eyes, usually so full of life, were vacant, replaced by a chilling emptiness. "The Babadook says you have to go," he whispered, his voice a chilling monotone. The chilling encounter with Sam ignited a spark of primal fury within Amelia. This was her child, her precious son, being manipulated by a malevolent entity. A surge of protective instinct, fierce and unrelenting, washed over her, pushing back the paralyzing fear that had held her captive. She would not lose Sam to this creature, this manifestation of her own grief and despair. She would fight tooth and nail, claw and scream, to protect her son from the clutches of the Babadook. This was a battle for Sam's soul, a fight for their very survival. With a newfound determination, Amelia confronted the entity. She raged against the shadows, her voice hoarse from screaming, demanding that it release her son from its grasp. The house seemed to tremble with the force of her fury, the air crackling with a raw, untamed energy. The Babadook, sensing her defiance, retreated deeper into the shadows. But Amelia refused to be cowed. She chased it through the darkened halls, her maternal rage a beacon in the consuming darkness. This was a mother's love given form, a force to be reckoned with, a power that even the Babadook could not extinguish. The struggle between Amelia and the Babadook reached a fever pitch. The house became a battleground, the air thick with fear and defiance. Objects flew across the room, walls shook, the very foundation of their reality seemed to tremble under the strain. Sam, caught between his mother's love and the entity's control, thrashed and screamed. His cries tore at Amelia's heart, fueling her resolve. She would not let the Babadook win. She would not let it claim her son. Finally, exhausted but unyielding, Amelia cornered the Babadook in the basement, the heart of the house, the epicenter of her grief. It towered over her, a grotesque mockery of a man, its shadow stretching across the walls. But Amelia refused to back down. She stared into its eyes, those empty pits of darkness, and saw her own pain reflected back at her. And in that moment of realization, she understood. The Babadook wasn't just an external entity. It was a manifestation of her own grief, her own repressed pain. It had taken root in her despair, feeding on her fear, growing stronger with each passing day. Understanding washed over Amelia, not as a wave of relief, but as a cold, hard truth. The Babadook wasn't something she could simply banish or destroy. It was a part of her, inextricably linked to the trauma she had buried deep within. She stopped fighting, her rage replaced by a weary acceptance. The Babadook, sensing the shift in her, seemed to shrink back, its menacing aura dimming. It was still there, lurking in the shadows, but its power over her had lessened. Amelia, her voice trembling but firm, spoke to the entity. She acknowledged its presence, acknowledged the pain it represented. She would not pretend it didn't exist, wouldn't try to bury it again. She would learn to live with it, to manage it, to prevent it from consuming her. The house, so long filled with tension and fear, seemed to breathe a collective sigh of relief. The air, while still heavy with the weight of their shared history, felt lighter, as if a great pressure had been lifted. Life after the confrontation was not easy. The Babadook remained, a constant shadow in their lives. But Amelia, armed with the knowledge of its true nature, was no longer its prisoner. She learned to manage its presence, to quiet its demands. She started to heal, slowly, painstakingly. She sought therapy, finding solace in sharing her burden with someone who understood. She reconnected with friends, allowing their warmth and support to penetrate the walls of isolation she had built around herself. Sam, too, began to recover. The nightmares faded, the terror in his eyes replaced by a cautious curiosity. He still saw the Babadook, lurking in the corners of his vision, but he no longer cowered in fear. He had learned, alongside his mother, that some monsters could be tamed, not through force, but through acceptance. One morning, Amelia found Sam in the basement, a bowl of worms clutched in his small hands. He was talking to the shadows, his voice soft and soothing. "Here you go, Mr. Babadook," he whispered. "I saved you some." Amelia watched, a bittersweet smile gracing her lips. The Babadook was still there, a part of their lives, a reminder of their shared trauma. But it no longer held dominion over them. They had found a way to coexist, a fragile peace born of acceptance and healing.